Hello, my friends. Pastor Mark back with your latest children's Bible story for the summer, The Adventures of Joseph, son of Jacob. Now, Joseph has had a very difficult life with all that's gone on with him, but somehow he still believes God's promise that he will be a great person someday. God didn't even stop loving him when he was in prison. God was still with him and gave him gifts. Remember last week he got released from prison because he interpreted the dream of the king of Egypt, the Pharaoh. The Pharaoh had that dream that these seven fat cows got eaten by seven skinny cows. And Joseph said to him, well, that means it's going to be 7 years of prosperity. The crops are going to be terrific. And it's be 7 years where the land doesn't grow much food. So Pharaoh said to Joseph, what should I do? Joseph said, you've got to get a building program going. Build huge granaries. And for the next 7 years, you take some of your grain, 1/7 of it, and you pour it into these granaries. You save food for 7 years because you're going to need it. After 7 years, it's going to be 7 really bad years. Do you know about that principle? When we're earning money, for example, sometimes we're tempted. Wow, we have all this money. Let's spend it. Ooh, bad idea. No, the lesson here is when you're earning good money, you put some in the bank, you invest some. You don't spend it all because good times are not going to last forever. You want to put money in the bank. Someday you will need it. In our country, sometimes we go crazy. Not only do we forget to save money, but we're also borrowing money. We borrow money on credit cards a lot. So now next month, we're paying principal on that, we're paying interest on it, and we don't get to buy anything new. How crazy is that? When you're earning money, put it in the bank. Not all of it, some of it. Get it in the bank. On my Aunt Mabel and Uncle Roy's farm, I was a little boy. I used to visit them there. Loved it. Every September, sometimes even in August, when all the vegetables came in, they all grew. Aunt Mabel used to take those and she'd can them in ball jars because she knew in the winter no vegetables were going to grow. And she had this whole cellar with shelves on it. And she would put in about 40 jars of beans and 40 jars of zucchinis, 40 jars of broccoli. She would put all these in jars. And that's how she ate all winter long. So, if you earn money, you start getting a job, it might be tempting to say, wow, I've got $10. I'll spend it. No, bad idea. Put some in the bank. If you can, put half of it in the bank and watch it grow. Because someday you might have a hard time and you'll be glad you have that extra money to get you through. Well, getting back to our story of Joseph and Pharaoh, king of Egypt, Pharaoh looked at Joseph and said, that's a fine idea to save some grain. And guess what he did with Joseph? He said, it's your idea. You're a very smart guy. God seems to be with you. What I think I'm going to do is I'm going to put you in charge of the whole program. And so now Joseph, who had been a spoiled little brat because his father favored him so much, Joseph, who'd been assaulted by his brothers, Joseph, who'd been sold as a slave, Joseph, who'd been falsely accused by his employer's wife, Joseph, who was in prison, is now right next to the king of Egypt. And he's running a food program that is going to save thousands of lives. Joseph's dream was right. God was with him. And when God is with us, what do? We do what God tells us to do. And even bad times, they don't last forever. We'll get over the bad times if we love the Lord and if we listen to the Lord. And that, my friends, is today's story of Joseph, son of Jacob. Please do me a favor if you're listening to this, like it, share it, comment on it. I want more people to notice these stories so that they can learn all about the God we love and serve. Will you do that for me, please? Thank you. I do appreciate it. God bless you today, this week. Listen to God. It'll do you good. And I'll see you next week with another story.